now that our mobile app is on the computer, we have just received a text message showing that the call has been dispatched to us. So here's my call. I have a new service call 15. That appears on my text message, and that will trigger me to go into the Field Desk app. So here's the home screen of the Field Desk app. If I go to the settings page, this shows me the company code that I have, the username, the password, and the current domain I'm working in. Now that domain is just the default domain, and the domains that you have are identified in the back office that tells the user MFG which domains they get to see. In this case, my default domain is LPC. So I save and test. All my settings are correct, and I can proceed. So in this case, I have a dispatch call. This will show me the calls that I have in dispatch status. When I click on the call, it tells a bunch of information about this call, whether I'm credit hold, the customer, the end user, open date. This data is directly coming from QAD. I have up to additional 10 fields I can show on this frame. Is configuration on the back end. Using the breadcrumbs, I can scroll over, see my address, see my call notes, check if I have any call coverage, the install date, the warranty code of the serial number, check my install base. This would be the install base at that end user's location, and any call history I have for this particular serial number. This is very powerful because I can see all the data on past calls for that serial number and end user, especially if I'm not the normal engineer at that customer site and I need to review prior calls for that install base item. So I'm going back to my dispatch calls. I click on it. I have two options here. I can accept the call or I can decline the call. In this case, I'm going to accept it. I'm going to put in some remarks. If you notice, my calls have gone from dispatch to open. So now I'm going to click on my open calls. These are the calls that I have from my activity. Call 15. At any point, I can hit the home button, and it takes me back to the home screen. I can back to working calls. Navigation with the app is very intuitive. Anyone who has a mobile phone should be able to pick up this very quickly. I have call 15. When I click my action buttons, this gives me the list of buttons that are available to me for this particular call type. Now you might say, my company does not use all those buttons, so those buttons can be turned off or on depending on the functionality you wish to use in the QAD SSM module. For the demonstration purposes, we'll go over all the buttons and what they do. Also a functionality with the buttons is you can force users to complete certain buttons before others. What that means is I can enforce a workflow. So if I want to add labor, I can enforce that I click the arrival, meaning I can't record labor unless I got on site. So those are some of the things you can control with button dependencies, and those dependencies are set up back office. So what buttons do I have available? I have the route button. In that case, that will bring up Apple Maps, and it will show me where I'm going, and I can go to directions. I can record my estimated time of arrival, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to add my ETA. I can add multiple ETAs. I'm going to add my arrival. Estimated hours on time is 2 hours. As I'm doing this activity, this is real-time updating QAD. So the status will change when I arrive, indicating to the back office that I'm here on site at a particular end user. I'm going to record labor. I can use my standard operations to pick my labor. So I'm going to pick regular labor. I'm going to set my manual duration to 2 hours. You have two ways to integrate the labor into QAD. Right when they record the labor, or wait till the call is closed. That's an implementation, and there's a control setting in the back office that says, do I want to post activity at close or not? We have it set up right now, so the close activity happens at close. What advantage of that is I can go back into labor, modify my time from 2 to 1 hours. This gives me the ability to changes before I close the call. I can record parts. So these are the parts that are in my trunk stock inventory. I'll pick a lot number. If you notice, when I pick the lot serial number, everything defaults. I'll save it and my call parts. At any time, I can hit my actions, scroll down the call summary, and see all the information I've keyed in. I can enter my fault codes. So if you have implemented fault codes in QAD, you can put in your problem, your cause, and your resolution. I can key in notes. These are notes that will not appear on the call report. These are internal notes that will show up in QAD. I can take advantage of the power of the mobile device by entering notes by talking into the speaker. What else can I do? I can record images. So if I wanted to add an image and send this back into QAD for review, I can do add images. I can choose a picture from my gallery and hit save. If I look at my summary, we have entered so far on this particular service call. I can then go into my checklist. This is the checklist of questions for a system acceptance test, right? So these questions I defined on the database. If you notice, you have logical fields, which are the switch flag. We have list of values highlighted by the hamburger on the right. If we have a red star, that means it's a mandatory field. All that is configurable on the back end when you define the checklist for this particular call type. I now start entering my values. If it's set up as a date field, the date picker will come up. If it's set up as a number field, the number keyboard will. I can just toggle these values. Here's a number field. It has to be less than 10. So I'm going to put 10 in, or 9. If I put a value that's not in the range I set up, the app will give me an error. Here's a disposition. Date completed brings up the phone picker. I can toggle my customer flag. I can put a value for X. This gives you a flavor on what you can do with field service checklists. All the data I enter on the mobile device for checklists is now building as a database for QAD. We will see that later. At this time, I can do a pre-close. A pre-close is if I wanted to grab a signature prior to actually closing the call. Maybe I had extra work I needed to perform, and I wanted to get the customer's signature prior to leaving the building. I also want to record some notes. Again, I can use the microphone. The call is perfect. The system performed the specification, and the customer is very happy. That is pre-close, and so when I go into the close, if you notice, all that data is pre-filled in. I now have my contact, and at this time, I can close the call. If you notice, the number of working calls has dropped down to 4. If I go into call history, you will see call 15 is status of complete. And now I only have 2 buttons. That's because my call has been completed. If I click on images, you will see the call report that's generated. So this is a call report that gets generated. You can always see these for all your call history. Very helpful. Other things we can do on the mobile device. We can manage our orders. So if we want to request a material order to replenish our trunk stock, or for a particular call, I can request for order. I pick all the open calls that I have available to me. I pick call 14. How do I want it shipped? I need to ship it FedEx. Do I need to ship it to a hotel? Do I need to ship the part to the customer? I can ship to an end user, engineer, or alternate address. I'll put in my due date, my required date, any remarks or notes, and I can pick the item I want. That then is a way to enter a material order into QAD. This happens automatically. I can also look at all my installed base records. So this will give me a list of all my customers, end users that are assigned to my engineer code. I can go in there and pick, and then it will show you all the medical instruments, the install base, if you will, for that end user. If I click on the install base record, you could show extra fields, up to 10. So if you wanted to add customer contacts information, if you need to know information about, I can also create a call. So when you call, I need to have a serial number. So I'll key in my lot serial number. I look up, and this allows me to create a call directly into QAD, which will then appear in my mobile device as a working call. I can pick my work code, my severity, my call type. I can key in notes, put in a phone number, a purchase order. If you notice, a new call was generated that is on my mobile device, and it goes directly to accept status. It's on accept status because I'm the one who put the call in. That gives you a good idea of what you can do with mobile device. Now, go back into QAD, where I entered the call originally. And I go into call maintenance for that call 15. You will notice these are the images and the call activity and the form I created. Now, this form is a sample form. It can be changed to meet your company requirements, but this shows you all the values that were entered on the checklist. It also has the ability to show colors on certain values of certain fields. So in this case, the distance failed, so it was highlighted in red. So when you go through the implementation of field service, field desk, a form will be designed especially for your company's needs. I can also see the pictures that I attached to the call, real time, directly updated into QAD. Also, the status was complete because I closed the call. We also have our field desk activity browse, which will show you all the activity on the field service call. So we have when we arrive, the labor, the parts, the fault codes, the notes, the image, the checklist, the pre-close, the pending invoice. All this activity happens real time when I do activities on the mobile device. I can then have field documents, again, another way to view images and call reports from a browse instead of having to go into the maintenance screen. I can also see the values of my checklist building up in a database. So I can do an analytics on what is happening during field service activities. So if I wanted to know all the dispositions that failed over a certain time period, I can do that with all the powerful data that's building up using the checklist values browse as a source of data. If you notice, you should be seeing all the checklist results I did for call 15. So here's my call 15, and all the results that I entered into the checklist. Real time with the label, the sequence, and the result. So I could check all my values for X that are greater than 4.8 and build a collection or a metric or an analytical tool to report all that activity in the field. Material order browse shows me all the material orders that I've entered on my mobile device. Very powerful. This will conclude the demo. Thank you for reviewing this software with us. If you have any questions, you can contact support@broomstreet.com. For more information, go to www.broomstreet.com. Thank you and have a good day.